publishing concern for many years.
Weird, but okay. What the hell's the Creative Society? There it is again. Okay, I'm not trying to be tinfoil hatty, but there are way too many oddities taking place with this channel. Every single comment supports Aegon. They seem to heavily lean Russian. They all connect in some way to something called Creative Society, and upon closer inspection, why is Aegon on their website? From what it seems, Aegon Shalakian isn't just a one-man show. It's a group. So who in the world are these people?
Here's a typical morning routine as someone who owns 11 pets.
Okay, I've been making this brown sugar mocha dalgona lately, and Nescafe is helping me.
November 7th, 155 miles per hour winds just wiped out 80% of the city.
It is what all people want. We've been conducting a lot of surveys for several years.
No day without informing about Creative Society.
It is not some saintly cult. The Creative Society is all of humanity. And when I say all, it means all.
Making its way onto every social media algorithm across the vast ocean of the internet is an idea. An idea that, on the surface, sounds idyllic, the sort of thing you'd hear in, let's say, a dream. The long-awaited arrival of a future we were promised, yet never came, and one that'll radically transform the lives of everyone that chooses to follow it. It goes by the Creative Society, and it's spilling out onto TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, really anywhere with an audience online. Take a look around, and chances are you'll find it. Front and center on their website, we're greeted with oddly familiar dialogue. Today, as the global community faces an increasing threat of natural disasters, the pursuit of security and sustainability has become fundamental for everyone. This situation requires immediate and decisive collective action. Just like the Earth Saves Science Collaborative, we're confronted with a conveyor belt of ideas, videos, and scientific reports that scaremonger about many of the same problems that Aegon told us about earlier. Nanoplastics, catastrophic earthquakes, an increase in turbulence in the Earth's atmosphere. It honestly sounds like a complete rehash of the exact same information. So much so that when I was digging through this, I found myself wondering why they even bothered creating another site at all. Upon heading over to their About page, we're given somewhat of an answer, as the site goes from a retread of familiar information to something completely out of left field. According to the wall of information before us, the Creative Society is more than just a bunch of scientists peddling dramatic theories about climate change. It's an international project uniting volunteers from over 180 countries, aka most of the world, with the goal of transitioning in a legal and peaceful way within the shortest possible time to a new creative format of society worldwide. Further down, they go on to reveal that their aims include eradicating climate change, which they believe is caused not by humans, but cosmic forces, as well as miraculously putting an end to all wars. They guarantee that under this new system, all adults will receive a universal basic income every month and an extra $100,000 upon the birth of their first child. Free healthcare will exist across the world, travel without restrictions, the eradication of all debts, mortgages, and taxes, and all of this can be achieved if we simply follow their lead and unite under the Creative Society. Now, this clearly all sounds way too good to be true. Much like how Aegon came off, it feels completely outlandish and conspiratorial. To be honest, it feels like the Creative Society has more in common with something like a religion, or perhaps even.
My neighbor in my house, like,
Yeah.
if I'm facing out the guy to my left, he is a cult leader. He has this cult called the Creative Society.
Shut up.
I swear to God.
What did they do?
They're like a doomsday, kind of like they're a doomsday cult, but they're like eco-doomsday. So they think that we're in the end of humanity, and the only way to bring us out of it is like through their method of creativity.
The concept of a new world order. A list of 8 pillars that their values are based around. The weird Illuminati-looking logo. All of this is packaged exactly like a cult. And although it seems obvious in hindsight, if you had merely stumbled upon it when scrolling online, you likely wouldn't even second guess it. This entire organization looks authentic. It pulls you in with its lengthy, seemingly well-researched reports and videos on important topics, led by experts who look legitimate. And it promises of a perfect world where you can be free, if only you spread their message. And somehow, it's actually working. Plastered all over their website are image after image after image, depicting everyday people posing with Creative Society paraphernalia. From what it seems, this group is utilizing their appearance to wiggle their way into various climate expos, US-based business conventions, and even medical offices. This, combined with their immensely aggressive social media presence, in which their videos are spammed on nearly every platform you can think of, gives insight into why so many around the world have found their cause. Like with everything else, they carry the appearance of doing a net good for the world. However, as I sit here writing this, I am honestly more confused than ever, because quite literally none of this makes any sense. So far, we've seen 2 interconnected climate activist groups that are very clearly peddling more than they've let on. Doing any sort of surface-level research into any of them reveals that their claims are extraordinary. They distort science, fabricate their credibility, and even on the Creative Society's website, they go on about a utopian new world order. Either none of these people are doing any research into the organizations they're so outwardly supporting, or they are, and I'm just the crazy one that doesn't see their vision. To me, the entire existence and support of the Creative Society is one massive paradox. People should be writing them off. So what really is going on here? Upon scouring the net for any information about this group, I happened upon an article written in 2022 on BBC.com. Penned by 2 climate disinformation reporters named Marco Silva and Marilyn Thomas, they dive into, of all things, how the Creative Society is fraudulent. They explain how several high-profile scientists were, at one point, invited to speak at their online events, mistakenly believing that they'd be educating the public, only to have their words entirely twisted. They claim that video footage was edited to remove any mention of the human causes of climate change, instead framing them as if they agreed with the Creative Society's outlandish views. Since then, these fraudulent videos have been blasted across their socials, fueling propaganda and continuing to attract more and more of the general populace to their cause. It's clear that this toxic combination of distortion and dissemination is what's quietly elevating them to prominence. But even still, there's a question brimming in the back of my mind. Who exactly is behind all of this? On their website, the Creative Society simply states that there's no one person funding or directing them. It's all just this undulating network of volunteers banding together to change humanity. However, it's when we scour the BBC article when we'll find that that isn't exactly true. Within it, they name drop a man, someone who's been affiliated with the Creative Society and shows up throughout the bulk of their online presence. In fact, it's a man who you've already seen several times throughout this video, hosting their conferences, introducing their YouTube videos, speaking on their network of over 200 channels across thousands of videos. He doesn't exactly hide himself, but he remains just distant and unfamiliar enough to the average person to not arouse suspicion and to coordinate things from behind the scenes. His name is Igor Mikhailovich Danilov, formerly a chiropractor, now the leader of the Creative Society, and someone who's also listed as the leading figure in a Ukrainian spiritual movement, which... Hold on. Alatra is known for promoting pseudoscience and wild conspiracy theories involving aliens and secretive powerful elites that sacrifice children. Okay, that is an absolutely insane statement, but that name. We've seen that name before. Right under our nose, a group has been operating. And upon digging into them further and cross-referencing them with the Earth-Save Science Collaborative and the Creative Society, it's become clear to me that everything we've covered up to this point was nothing but a front. A funnel to the real core of this rabbit hole. Alatra. Hidden within every climate report and embedded in every viral video are endless references to something called Alatra, an organization which, as it turns out, has much deeper and more expansive roots than anything we've seen so far. They're the ones behind the Creative Society project, the ones paying Egon Shalakian to lobby in the US government, the true puppet master behind this sprawling network of interconnected accounts that are quietly taking over the internet. While up to this point, we've seen the prior groups spreading misinformation and outlandish ideas, what Alatra truly believes at their core is so far out there, so off the rails, that I struggle to comprehend how they've ever been taken seriously. According to the videos on their vast network of YouTube channels, they sincerely believe that humans are capable of telepathy and have conducted several experiments using a walk-in pyramid where volunteers transmit symbols with their minds in front of a live audience. They have videos showing members taking photographs of their thoughts, infographics about the soul coming from space, even podcast appearances where they talk about aliens living among us.
Considering the level of their development, the Apexians had already colonized millions and millions of planets by that time. And naturally, they had developed methods of working with humanoids like us, right? So they took the simplest option. They elevated themselves to the rank of God.
No.
Naturally, on their website, they mention none of this, instead describing themselves with the familiar spiel we know all too well by now. Volunteers across 180 countries, nanoplastics, the usual. It's when we take a look at their About page, though, when we're able to spot something strange. Taking up nearly half of this page is a massive section about a supposed defamation campaign enacted upon Alatra by a group called the Russian Association of Centers for Religious and Sect Studies, or RACERS for short. Alatra claims that this group sought to tarnish its image by accusing them of believing in ideologies laid out in so-called fiction books that they once published. Furthermore, they go on to claim that they are absolutely not an apocalyptic cult and that all rhetoric supporting this is intentionally trying to discredit them. You know, it's funny they say that because we kind of already had an idea. If the alien beliefs and weird telepathic experiments weren't enough to give it away, then them outright claiming that they're not a cult, guys, they are not a cult, is a bit of a dead giveaway. But I digress.
5 years ago, I offered him a job, and he's since become family.
Thanks, Taylor.
The family! What is this?
Get down! We were ambushed. Found out who did this.
Big work for us.
Whoever killed Tebu is on that ship.
We have a stowaway. What do you want?
Vengeance.
Mutiny. Rated R. Only in theater.
With this in mind, I did some digging into Alatra itself and stumbled upon a trove of information about their early years. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but even with everything we've seen them peddle so far, things still get stranger. In their early years, Alatra was born as nothing more than a publishing house, releasing novels penned by an author named Anastasia Novik. These books are highly spiritual and feature a being named Rigdon Japo, who's a sort of prophet for Alatra. Supposedly, he's been reincarnated. He can teleport, read minds, and displays numerous other superhuman abilities. Exactly the kind that they're trying to replicate in the pyramid videos. In essence, he's their version of Jesus, and some of the books even read like religious texts, containing conversations between Japo and Novik, where he relays the word of their god, a disembodied voice named Alat, to the reader. The most interesting part about Japo, though, has nothing to do with his supernatural behavior, but rather, his job. In their very first book, dating way back to 2003, he's introduced in his earthly form as a martial arts teacher and, well, would you look at that, a chiropractor. His students call him sensei, but on more than one occasion, he is directly referred to by the name Igor Mikhailovich. While Alatra may have passed these books off as mere works of fiction, the inclusion of Igor Danilov is very real. This man, to this day, is convincing thousands to follow him. He professes the ideas baked into these novels in his troves of YouTube videos and on every Alatra website, and he convinces humans that they're capable of doing things that are physically impossible. At this point, we've transcended the realm of pseudoscience and societal manipulation, because this man, Igor Danilov, is trying to be a prophet. A warped, twisted, and disturbed prophet, leveraging his power behind the scenes to not only control people, but to enact some of the most disgusting acts imaginable.
Девушки находятся в постоянном страхе, и поэтому они очень контролируют, что они говорят, как, и, конечно же, никому ничего нельзя рассказывать.
Добрый вечер. Я очень благодарна, что вы вышли со мной на связь. Я понимаю, что время у нас довольно ограничено, поэтому давайте пройдемся по тем вопросам, которые бы хотелось, ответы на которые хотелось бы общественности показать.
The video you're currently watching is an interview between a Russian journalist named Elena Namlieva and one of Igor Danilov's former so-called heavenly birds. In fear of retaliation, her identity has been concealed. However, the information she provides gives us an eerie look into his other ventures. In this interview, the woman explains that Igor, joined by other cult members, would regularly partake in group intercourse with upwards of 13 women at a time. These women, as far as she knew, ranged anywhere from 20 to 40 years in age, and these acts were supposedly meant to cleanse their spirit. Igor Danilov, being the group's prophet, would utilize his power to coerce them into participating, and if they refused, resisted, or told anyone about what was happening behind closed doors, then he would convince them that their soul is all but damned to hell. You're either with us and remain silent, or are against us and are siding with Satan, he would claim. An unthinkable form of psychological manipulation that has kept women silent, obedient, and entangled in Danilov's web for years.
Конечно, это постоянно девушек держит в страхе. То есть это не в открытую происходит, но это постоянно фоном, да, проходит сквозь все беседы, сквозь все встречи, что или признание, или ты попадаешь в ад и будешь вечно расслабиться из ситуации.
As details about Danilov's actions trickled out over the years, investigations into Alatra began to ramp up. In 2023, the Ukrainian Orthodox Church allegedly became so concerned about this group that they labeled them a psycho-cult, while simultaneously, Russia also declared their activities undesirable. Their controversial beliefs, psychological manipulation and coercion, and worshipping their leader as if he was some kind of messiah were starting to cause concern. And with the member base growing day by day, Alatra was rapidly morphing from the appearance of an innocent climate-focused organization into a legitimate global threat. In August of that year, Ukrainian forces organized a series of raids on the homes of Allatra's key members. They scoured Ukraine from top to bottom and followed every lead they had, no matter how insignificant. More than 20 cells were broken up, yet surprisingly, Danilov was nowhere to be seen. While the case, though, they weren't entirely empty-handed, as what they found instead was so unexpected, so completely out of left field, that it turns this entire movement on its head. Inside one of their compounds, Ukrainian authorities uncovered an array of weapons, religious texts, and a myriad of blurred red objects. Interesting. Well, good thing there's a video. So let's see.
You use Gmail, Google Maps, Google Search, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Gemini, all on your phone.
Salut.
All throughout this compound are not only shrines dedicated to Vladimir Putin, but Trump hats everywhere. This is why they're creating account after account, specializing in nearly every country in the world to spread their message. This is why they're paying Egon Shalakian to cozy up to any major governmental figure he can. This is why they've spread to California and have launched a trendy new YouTube channel for a fresh American audience. These people will not stop their efforts until they land someone inside the White House and beyond. And you wouldn't believe it, but they're well on their way there.
I am running for President of the United States of America to give power back to the people and build a creative society worldwide.
It turns out that former football coach and presidential candidate Robbie Wells has been associated with Allatra and the Creative Society since 2019, running for office, circulating the same rhetoric about a universal basic income, using every social media account to deliver pro-Allatra, pro-Putin conspiracies to his followers. Pastor Mark Burns, the man who just helped erect the golden statue of Trump, also has video after video spanning every one of his socials, supporting Allatra's cause. And most insane of all, even the Pope has given Allatra his blessing, something they make absolutely sure to boast about on their website. These activities, these attempts at gaining access to major governments across the world are happening right under our nose, and no one, besides a handful of people dedicated to following Aegon's trail, are talking about any of this.
Ahoj přátelé, vítám vás z Afriky. Je to tady naprosto fantastický. Zrovna jsem přišel do vesnice. Hello Klára!
Allow me to introduce you to Jakob Jol, a journalist, YouTuber, and qualified expert in cults, dedicating his life's work to exposing them and the plethora of sophisticated techniques they use to manipulate their followers. He's also a humanitarian, having spent numerous years volunteering in Africa, traveling to communities like the town of Moshi, Tanzania, where he helped to provide education and support to people in less privileged situations than his own. Or, at least, that's what he says he does. Scattered across across YouTube are numerous near-identical documentaries that provide a much more sinister look into Jakob's supposed activities in Tanzania. Satanist in Africa. From charity to child abuse. The victims told the truth. Why is Jakob Jarl still free? These productions span hours and appear to be entirely legitimate documentaries. They're presented by verifiable hosts who have taken to the streets of Moshi to interview locals who'd like to expose the truth. That Jakob Jarl is a liar, a deviant, and that he secretly and covertly conducted an undercover operation to abuse and brainwash children in Africa. This case is so disturbing, so repulsive, that all over TikTok to this day are hundreds upon hundreds of videos spreading the word about this monster that has seemingly been hiding under the radar for years.
This horrible human being who abused kids in Tanzania. His name is Jakob Jarl. He is from Czech Republic. He came to Tanzania.
Just take a look what this predator, Jakob Jarl, who African kids, is saying.
Jakob Jarl raised thousands of euros, claiming it was to help children in Tanzania, and then he used this money to brutally abuse them.
This account, Ollie Climate Girl, is one of hundreds spreading the Jakob Jarl story. Which is fine. It's good to get the word out. The part that isn't fine, though, is that this very account has already shown up in this video. Jakob Jarl never did any of this. The documentaries, completely fabricated. The endless support of them, entirely manufactured. Every bit of information we've learned about Jakob up to this point has been nothing but what Alatra wants us to know about him. Because just a few years ago, Jakob did something to absolutely enrage them. In 2023, Jakob Jarl was one of a number of Czech journalists working to expose Alatra's activities. Turns out that he was instrumental in locating one of Igor Danilov's hideouts, and because of his meddling, he's now facing a coordinated smear campaign, essentially painting him as the devil. Unfortunately, it's difficult to parse who exactly is connected to Alatra and who isn't when it comes to their comment sections. They've amassed hundreds of them across their various uploads, and the overall sentiment ranges from unapologetic support to cautious skepticism. From what it seems, this massive psyop they're pushing is working in some capacity, as it's even caused the Czech government themselves to step in and investigate Jakob for these claims. It took years before he was exonerated, and while today he's thankful for it, the mental toll it took on him, combined with the internet's collective outrage about him doing things he never would have even imagined doing, all of it had unfortunately put him in an extremely dark place.
Hello, this is Pastor Mark Burns, spiritual advisor to President Donald Trump, and I want to tell you, I'm here in the Tanzania embassy right now. Just had a wonderful, productive meeting. Jakob is not going to get away with the evil and the atrocities that has been done to these children. So let's continue to pray, let's continue to fight, and let's continue to tell the world that justice is coming. Jakob, you won't get away with this.
To this day, if you look up Jakob Jarl on any search engine or social media platform, you'll find video after video painting him out to be a monster. It is an absolute travesty, and that's exactly how Alatra wants it.
The closest thing to fresh air in this office is your boss's screensaver. But what if you just booked?
It's interesting, I don't know if you know, but this summer holidays, Alatra is again visiting Tanzania. They're going there with like 20 volunteers for 2 weeks. And you know why they do it? Because the children we were helping, they discovered all their orphanages, and now they're getting into the orphanages. Of course, when they give those people money, you know, of course they will take it and they will be happy. So now they're going there and visiting those children we cared for years. And they're visiting them, and they will try turning them into this Allatra member in the future, you know. They have like this whole campaign, and that's the real torture thing, right. You know, because they can't hurt me with lies when I know it's a lie, you know. But they can hurt me with those children we helped them medically, we put them in school, and now they go there, you know, now they made all those people crazy, you know, they're spreading those things, so I can't visit Tanzania anymore. So I can never visit them again, the children, nor any of the volunteers. We like traveled there with a bunch of people for years. We cared for all of them. No one can visit them anymore, and all of those children are getting indoctrinated into Allatra culture.
Now that you're saying that, I had never considered that as one of the negative effects that Allatra has had on people. That, I will say, is probably one of the most grim out of everything, and I never knew that. So thank you for bringing that up, because I want more people to know about this.
Yeah, so that's like the real thing that's hurting me. That's the only thing I can't like be laughing about. But the other things that okay, so they will kill me somewhere, you know? That's like something I can laugh about, because I don't care so much anymore when I know that it's much more important to fight against them. But this is something that hurts me, and I also feel guilty, because if I would not visit those children and would not investigate cults, they would not be indoctrinated by this crazy cult that's now targeting them.
At the end of all of this, I'm simply left feeling shocked. Shocked at the fact that something so random, so minuscule, a simple live stream by Destiny and a Reddit post to accompany it could morph into something so far from where we started. This entire time, Aegon Shalakian has been nothing but a cog in a much greater machine. A fraud in so many aspects of his life. Allatra to this day is operating around the world and is doing everything they can to entangle themselves in world governments to further their cause. Like with Robbie Wells and Mark Burns, their strategies have been undeniably effective. However, I believe that shining a spotlight on groups like this can truly help prevent them from weaseling their way into where they don't belong. What they've unleashed upon Jakob Jarl and a handful of other journalists that have exposed them is cruel and inhumane, and it reveals to me just how effective the internet can be at swaying public opinion. If you had never watched this video and had randomly stumbled upon Jakob's story, I wouldn't fault you for believing everything that Allatra's been peddling. I wouldn't fault you for believing their climate disaster reports, considering the changes our planet's seen in the past few decades. And I wouldn't fault you for giving these people credibility, given the seemingly endless images and videos depicting them with powerful figures. While Igor Danilov, to this day, remains at large, his group continues to operate in capacities that I still don't fully understand. Who knows how many women are still under his grasp, worshipping him as something he isn't, coerced into satisfying him whenever he demands it, and being tormented into an agonizing silence. I can only hope that someday they wake up and realize how fraudulent everything about Allatra truly is.
young women who were lured into the cult. Now they use young women who are daughters of couples who are already members. So it's more like a prestige thing that the couples, the parents, are like offering their young daughter to Igor, to be a heavenly bird. They transformed it, and thus they can be sure that the parents will not start an anti-cult or anti-Alatra campaign, So that's one of the main things what they changed. Also, I think now they could not bear a heavenly bird to run away. So I think, honestly, that if a woman would want to run away, they would just bury her in the lake, the lake where they are is famous for being they find every half year they find someone who was killed and buried in that lake, it's very famous. So it's not a difficult way, and place to